Now, as I promised in the last module, this module is going to teach you how to actually create some elements or draw some stuff, either lines or walls or circles or whatever it is. How do we do that? How do we do it CAD style? What is CAD style? Now, CAD style means that we're going to do this in a very precise way. And it's important that every line be drawn just exactly right. Every wall is put at the exact location, because it is CAD. And we want to be able to extract data from this once we import our ideas. If we don't draw it accurately, then we're going to get inaccurate information. So it is CAD. Precision is important. Doesn't mean we can't change it, because we're going to change it all the time, but we have to know what we're doing and how we're doing it. So the first thing, we're going to start drawing our lines, and we're going to go ahead and roll up this section of the commands so that we expose just the 2D elements. And I put a lot of emphasis on lines and circles to start with, because I find that if you take the time to master that, then you're going to easily move into the more complex objects like walls or slabs or roofs. But if you don't have the fundamentals established, you're going to find yourself fumbling. So please bear with me, be patient. Lines and circles are, in my opinion, so important, because this is how we develop really interesting, accurate drawings, and we don't have to fully understand our ideas. We can allow our ideas to continue to unfold as we go through an iterative process. So I find that using lines and circles and fills, which we'll get to later, is a very important way to develop your ideas. And a lot of people look down on this. Oh, I'm using a 3D CAD program. That's true, but some ideas are better suited to get started in 2D. And I find that the level of detail and nuance and the degree to which it's an inspired solution is dependent on how much level of detail you put in at the beginning. So don't be afraid of lines and circles. Don't be ashamed. I feel like this is where we really missed the opportunity to have really inspired designs, but that's just my 2 cents, and I don't want to get too stuck on that, but let's go ahead and get started. So obviously I can use the button over here, and that's my line tool, or as you know how important it is to me, we're going to use the L for line. And once we do that, this is CAD style. There is a setting somewhere in the menus that it's Mac style, where it's a click, drag, and release. We don't want to do that. We want to do 2 clicks, and the system is set up as the default, which is CAD style. Make sure that you're set up in CAD style. So if it's acting a little funny, go check that out. So it's click, click, and you'll notice that I'm on the chained line geometry method, which you can see here in this tooltip. And this is going to allow me to continue to draw lines, and I click, click, click until I double click, or I make a complete loop. So take a moment to do that. Pretty easy. It is fun. It is fun. So click around and make sure you got this down. Okay, practice with your circles. Now there's, again, different geometry methods. We're going to go through these features here in just a few minutes, but I don't want to get too caught up in it right now. Try the point radius method here. This is the most common. It's a click for the center, click for the radius, and then a second click for the arc length, or we click the same point, it gives us a full circle. Kind of spin around here. Pretty simple. So now that you can lay down some bad geometry, let's learn how to lay down some good geometry. Now here's a technique that I will want you to learn. So the Control A will select everything of the selected tool. If I want to select everything on the whole document and the whole screen, I can hit the arrow tool and hit Control A. That'll select everything. If I want to select just the circles, I can select the circle tool and hit Control A. If I want to select just the lines, same thing. Also have the opportunity to use the marquee. And if I marquee this, then I hit everything. But if I only marquee certain elements, I'm going to be able to selectively select different elements using the marquee. And I can overlay these tools so I can have the marquee and the tool selected. And let me give you an example of that. So here I do a marquee. I select just the lines contained in that marquee, and you can see that these are running through, these are contained, and I can hit delete, which is another keyboard shortcut for the erase, or backspace. Either one works fine. We can also do a cut or a delete using the right mouse button to bring up this window. So several ways. You'll find that's a common theme in ArchiCAD. Several ways to do something, and you'll find the way that's the most efficient for you. But make sure you take the time to be efficient, because you don't want to learn a habit that's kind of cumbersome. I tend to select and hit delete. So now we're back to square one. So using L, now I want to draw a line accurately. Now, you're going to find something about me that's kind of annoying. This is probably because I'm trained as a mechanical engineer, but I use decimal inches, feet and decimal inches. I don't expect you to do this. I do encourage my employees to do this. This makes sure that I'm drawing everything perfectly, and I don't have any issues with coming back later and having a round off error. And it doesn't take very long to learn your 16ths. Eighths, quarters are obviously easy, and you'll just know it, but you can see when something's perfect and you can see when it's not perfect. So either do it or don't. I will keep this feature going, but it's something that I find very helpful, and I don't end up going back later and having to fiddle around with different elements because I didn't draw it right in the first place. I can see it and I can understand it. So if I do my first click, I can just type the length, and I'll do 20 feet. ArchiCAD is generally set up to default to feet. My angle is set to 0 because it was snapping to this line here that's giving me some guidance. So the angle is 0 to 4 decimal places. I hit enter, and now that is 20 feet. If I want to go up 10, I just aim in that direction, type the number, aim in that direction, type the number, and you can see how quickly you can lay down perfect geometry. I'm going to come over to here, and again, you're seeing that ArchiCAD's laying down some lines for me here and trying to help me line things up. And I use these sometimes. I'll go ahead and finish this figure using the help of those lines. And those lines, I can't remember where to turn those on off. I just saw it the other day, but snap guides, here they are. So if now they're turned off, and you see it's not giving me any aids, and it's not snapping to a 0 point. So this is how ArchiCAD used to work. So I learned to work without them. I think it's a great feature, and I encourage you to use it. But I'll show you an alternate method, and sometimes it has its advantages. If I hold shift, you'll notice that my angle rounds to 0, and I have it set up in the settings to round to the 45-degree increments. So as long as I get close to one of those, hit shift and hold it, then I hold shift. Now I'm holding shift, and then I hit R for radius, and then I can hit 20. And once I hit the R, I can release the shift, and it's locked in that angle, and I can enter the value, and now I've gone 20. So this is how I learned to draw. So I hold shift, R, 12, and down. The only advantage of this is that instead of waiting for the guidelines to show up or having it, fall on and off the guideline, I can force it onto the guideline. If I hold shift and type a number, it's not going to work. I have to hold shift, then hit R, and then I can release that, and then I can hit 10. Now, you're going to struggle with that for a little bit, and that's fine. And you're going to click too much, because that's our tendency when it's not doing what we want. but take the time to really master that routine. So you can either use the snap guides, which I'll put back on like that, and they're great, and I don't want to take anything away from them because they are very helpful. And for instance, I can come down here and I can line this up. Once I let that come around, it's going to say like that, but you see that's a little slow. The alternative method, and I'll use Control Z, another shortcut that's pretty common, to remove the line. And if I hold Shift and I lock in that angle, now I can click this point and I drew a line to here, and I don't have to wait for the guidelines. I don't have to wait to slowly move my mouse back. So holding the Shift can be a little bit more robust and a little bit faster. You're going to want to choose how you do that most of the time, or find a combination that works for you, which is probably kind of what I've done. So when I'm drawing these lines, I can, again, I'm starting, and if I hit Tab and I keep hitting Tab, you're going to notice that there's some more options here. And when I first started using ArchiCAD, I used X and Y a little bit more than I do now. So I can hit X, say 6 feet, Y -2 feet, and then I'm drawing a line that's 6 over, 2 down. And I can do that by clicking, and I don't have to tab down. I can actually hit X, 6, tab, or hit Y. Either way, tab will just move you down the list. And then I can hit 3, and now I've gone 6 over, 3 up. That's a really fast way of entering coordinates, especially when you're doing a line that isn't horizontal or vertical. So X and Y, or I can also hit A. So if I want to do a line that's 33 degrees and a distance, so I hit R for radius, of 4 feet, that's what that is. Now I'm going to show you the measure tool, which is M, or come up here, but don't do that. It's too slow. Hit M, select this point, and you'll see, yes, that is in fact exactly 4 feet. Notice the decimal zeros. You're going to have to set the precision up. If you're using this strategy with the decimal inches, make sure you use the 3 decimal places and 4 decimal places for the angle. And again, it just makes everything really clean, get predictable results. 4 feet, 33 degrees. And we're now drawing with precision in a way that's fast, convenient, and we're not having to do a lot of construction lines, which is something I really prefer about ArchiCAD, is that there are a lot of ways to work around things without having to create a lot of construction geometry. So we've learned the snap guides. Now let's learn the snap-in, which is a little different and something that really makes CAD programs. Unlike Illustrator does do some snapping, Photoshop certainly does not. This is what makes geometry perfect, is that when I go to a corner, I'm getting this check mark. That check mark means when I start drawing this line, it is exactly on that corner. Not close. If I zoom in, it's still, I can keep zooming in, and they're still touching. They're exactly the same position to, I don't know how many decimal places, probably 20 or 30, whatever a 64-bit processor can handle. And then when I click to this point, that is precisely connected to that point. So connecting an endpoints is obviously pretty easy. I got the check mark on the first one, then I get a black pencil. Black pencil means that it's also found that corner, more visual feedback. Those points are connected precisely. Check mark, black pencil. I can also go pencil with a line through it, which means that I'm not on the endpoint, or I'm not on the midpoint. You notice the midpoint's jumping up here, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. But I am connected to the corner here. This, I'm on the line, but I don't know where I am on the line. And sometimes that's okay, and sometimes it's not. But it is precisely along the line. We just don't know where. If I want to be to the midpoint, I have it currently set up that way. We'll look at how to make that change in a second. And the endpoint. So pretty easy. I can get endpoint, midpoint on the line. And then the other option is, you got to hunt for it a little bit, is perpendicular. And there'll be a guideline that does the same for that. And once we are holding it there, so I'll come do that again. And I got the perpendicular sign. Now all these guidelines are making it complicated for us, so, or snap guides, right term. snap guides. So I'll turn those off so they're not interfering, but that's the perpendicular. So from this corner here to up here, that is a perfect square 90-degree corner. So we can move from endpoint, along the line, midpoint, perpendicular. Now our other snap guides here are controlled in this screen. So here's your half, that's your midpoint. You can also set divisions. In this case, it's currently set up to 3. 20%. Let's try each one of these real quick. So if I delete this line, now here's a keyboard shortcut that I have to emphasize, and that's holding Shift to turn this into the selection tool. Even though I'm still in the line command, it's giving me the selection tool momentarily, so I can click and delete. Do not go up here and select this arrow tool. If you're doing that, you're wasting time and money. So I'm going to draw a line. I am on divisions. I turned it off, unfortunately. So there, now the whole thing is on. I'm going through here. Now I have my endpoint, my divisions, which are thirds, and my endpoint. I can go to 20%. And now you'll see I'm getting 20% of the length of this line, which becomes a snappable point. I can do a specific distance, best division. So lots of choices here. Sometimes I'm just going to say, go play with it and figure it out, which is the easiest way. Now, a couple of other important things to look at are, sorry about that, starting your snap point values. This is where you actually change the divisions percentage distances. And another important tool, I'm going to cross that line on purpose, is I can either do between nodes or between intersection points or along an entire element if it's a multiple, like a polyline, which we'll get to a little later. So let's look at this. So now when I select here, I'm going to go back to divisions. Those are divisions of this line from this intersection to the endpoint. I don't have to trim this. I don't have to do artificial construction geometry. I'm able to just do this on the fly. And I change these up here. Now you notice I have between nodes as an apostrophe, shift apostrophe, which is actually quotation marks, is my way to remember how to switch these back and forth with the keyboard. So we'll go back to between nodes, which then puts the thirds from the endpoint to the endpoint, which is a really important feature. So we've covered a lot of things here. The last thing I'm going to do within this module is something that a lot of people don't know about. I'm going to start drawing a line. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to lock the X value with Alt X. And you'll notice now that my input is constrained to this vertical line because it's locked my X coordinate. And because of that, I can hit any point I want and it'll line up with that line, the vertical line from this corner. So this can be a really useful tool. There's Alt X, Alt Y, and I believe Alt A works as well. Yes, I can lock an angle and then I can then key in a particular distance, hit enter. So those are the way we manipulate the geometry. On the next module, we're going to go and explore the line and circle tool in a little bit more detail. But you're getting a really good foundation on how to make a CAD system behave and benefit like a CAD system should, and how you should benefit. We'll see you in the next module.